Okay, good day everybody, and welcome to our voquzlabs webinar, the cloud-based SAP Access Management Solutions for Remote Working. My name is Rogan Morrison, and I'm a Business Development Director here at voquzlabs. And with me on today's webinar, I have Philip Latini, the CEO of Cevis. Just to cover a few... Yeah, thanks, Philip. Just to cover a few housekeeping areas for today's webinar, you will note that you are all muted. However, if you do want to ask a question, we do have a questions panel in the webinar structure where you can put your question in. We will also try and get to a Q&A session at the end of the webinar if we don't run out of time there. Also to note that this webinar is actually recorded. And if you have to drop off any stage, we will be sending the link to this presentation at the end of the webinar. So good to have you all on board today. And let's kick off. And I will cover the first few slides and then I will hand over to Philip. Okay, just a little bit about voquz as a group. So voquz as a group was started in 1980. And voquzlabs, as part of that group, is really the leading provider of SAP license authorizations and compliance management add-ons. We started doing this in 2010 with a solution called setQ, and we have since expanded that globally. And in 2018, we launched setQ, which is a specific solution aimed at SAP license authorizations and compliance management. We expanded our footprints, and as of today in 2020, you can see on the right-hand side there that we are based globally with offices in Berlin, New York, Cluj, Amsterdam, Mexico City, London, and Cape Town. In terms of our solution set, we have two solutions, as I mentioned, setQ and SAMQ. We're specifically going to focus on the setQ solution set today around identity and authorizations management. And on the left-hand side there, you can see that this covers a number of specific areas related to the identity and authorization management, such as authorization and role concept design, role optimization, compliance audit documentation, password management, etc. We won't be covering the SAMQ side. We have separate webinars for the license management side. So if you're interested in those and you want to know more information around named user license optimization or indirect and digital access S/4HANA license migrations, please have a look at those webinars. Together with our two solution sets, we also have an advisory team, and we specifically help organizations from an advisory perspective with their authorizations concept redesign, access security, SAP S/4HANA role migrations, etc. And we can advise you on those as well. In terms of voquzlabs as a group, we're specifically play in the disruptive innovator space, and we focus on four key pillars with regards to our setQ solution. Firstly, optimizing SAP authorizations concepts. So in other words, driving down SAP running costs, ensuring for your business that your concept in terms of authorizations is as lean as possible, helping you to create new operational efficiencies, maintaining compliance within your authorization structure, which is focused specifically on reducing financial risk for your organization. And then lastly, ensuring the security of your SAP landscape. And we'll touch on a little bit more on this in a few slides around maintaining and maximizing that which you've put into SAP, specifically the information side of things. We're very focused from a strategic business value perspective. And what do we and how do we go about this? So first of all, on the left-hand side, you will see that we've indicated that we have a set of solutions, so setQ software. We also have implementation projects and managed services. And on the right-hand side, we need to tie that together with the client value that you're looking for. And we do that through a number of what we call business objects alignment. So we align things like the cost reduction, compliance risk avoidance, operational efficiencies with the software solutions that we provide in terms of setQ and the managed services. So for an example, cost reduction, we will have things like role reduction or audit preparation, password resets. For compliance, risk and avoidance, we might have some areas, things like maintaining or mitigating SoD conflicts, etc., IT audits, and minimizing things like SAP data theft. This all is aligned to ensuring that you have actually a SAP security and compliance transformation roadmap. What I'd like to do at this stage is just do a very quick poll with you. If you had a look in your organization and you have a look at the specific strategic business objectives, these three key ones up the top here, what I would like to do is just launch a poll to understand a little bit more from your side and be a bit more interactive around which you see as the most important in your organization for this year. So let me launch that now. Let me just pause screen sharing. I trust you can see that poll and you can fill in that information as it's being shared now. Okay, I see some. Yeah, very key for this year, I'm sure. Cost reduction. Given the current state of affairs economically.
Yeah, quite clear.
It's pretty much what we expected, Philip, to see that. Okay, let's stop it there. Okay, we'll wait for. Okay, I think we can close the poll there at the moment.
Cost-sensitive audience here.
Very cost sensitive. Okay, let's just, we can share that with you quickly. You can see from this, definitely cost reduction is a very key driver at the moment in terms of meeting strategic business objectives. Okay, that's good to see. I trust you can see my screen again. So I want to just cover why is SAP security so important? And I think one of the most valuable statements in this whole presentation is the fact that the SAP system that you've built or have in-house in the organization is really an information house. And it contains the most critical pieces of your assets in terms of what your business assets. When we look at what those business assets are, you will see here things like sensitive employee information. So this is high volume employee data. Things like sensitive customer information, high volume customer data, credit card information, etc. Business processes, the trade secrets that you've created in terms of the uniqueness that creates value in your organization when we talk about business process. Treasury and cash, corporate bank accounts, treasury workings, etc., in terms of their business processes. It is really the lifeblood of your business if you look at it from a single point of operational failure. If your ERP on any one specific day failed, there would be a number of ramifications from a business perspective. For many organizations, it also contains intellectual property. This is very high valued industry data that they maintain and manage within the SAP solution. From a network perspective, it's also the front door and access point to many of your corporate networks via web portals, etc. So very vital piece of machinery in your business operations and your business models. And last but not least, your financial reporting and the insights around that. A lot of the financial reporting from a BI perspective, from a BPC perspective, your consolidations are all taken out of the SAP solution. So you can see why we want to maintain the security of this asset so clearly. And then what are the security trends telling us at the moment? So if we look at some trends around security in the last few years, we can see that security breaches have increased by 11% since 2018 and 67% since 2014. So there's an upward trend in terms of security. And I think recently with the changes, we'll have a look at some of those trends as well. The average time to identify breaches in 2019 was 206 days, so a very long time to rectify security breaches. By 2020, the estimated number of passwords used by humans and machines is going to grow to 300 billion. That's a significant number of passwords. We trust that none of you have to maintain that many, and I'm sure you don't, but you're going to be maintaining a number of passwords on your SAP solution. And I think this is one of the most important aspects that's happening at the moment is leaked information by third parties and employees can expose the internal ERP applications. One of the specialized security companies discovered that there were over 500 configuration files that have been opened and are on insecure file repositories. And this, is where employees are sharing ERP login credentials on public forums. This really creates a significant risk for organizations. We see organizations who have a very high third-party contractor usage or resourcing value in their organizations, and this really can increase the risk that you have. And together with remote working, this really has increased the security risk for many organizations working in an SAP space. What I'd like to do now is just hand over to Philip to take us through how setQ, our authorization management solution, deals with this in a simple, smart, and safe way. So let me transfer this over to Philip.
Okay, thank you, Rogan, very much for the introduction. So very interesting fact so far. Okay, good. So I think you see my screen now, Rogan. You can.
Yes, we can see your screen
slides
there
with the overview. Okay, perfect. So yeah, thank you for your time today and your interests. I think we should start with a compliance topic. And at first, of course, I want to share some very, I think good and intelligent way how to manage compliance issues in SAP. But at first, I also want to have some information from you. And before we start with the compliance manager, the compliance topic as itself, because it's a big buzzword. For example, compliance, if you think of compliance in case of SAP, then we are talking also about documentation. We are talking about of recertification and some mitigation processes at all. We will not get into detail with those managers because we'll focus on the compliance manager. But I would like to know how many customers of you are into this compliance, let's say, issues right now and going to plan to have a project like, and how often you maybe have audits in compliance, not only with the auditing firms, auditing companies. So, Rogan, can you please just start the poll regarding compliance?
Sure, there we go, Philip. I've started the poll.
Yeah, because for me, actually, it is a very interesting thing to find out how crucial is compliance, because some of them we just got the answer from those 14% only are, let's say, very interested in how to, not only because of cost reduction, but I think there are some good arguments to do it in a preventive way and not only because I need to ensure SOX compliance and so on, because that is what, let's say, provides and provides not to have too many risks in my authorization concept and to lower down my risks in the roles and assignments. But let's see what would be the results. So actually, it looks good because we don't have a customer who never make any kind of compliance checks or audits. So that is quite good. And the most of the customers, I think we can close the poll right here.
Oh, we have one that says never.
A few
yes.
that I don't know. I'm not sure.
Say never. just before you jumped off that. So I think, I think Philip, let's close the poll at this point here, and we can share that on the screen. And I think it's interesting to note that there are some clients potentially out there that have a principle of never in terms of that, but I think most of them sharing it or doing their compliance audits and compliance authorizations on an annual basis. It seems to be the most common.
Yeah. And not only because of the auditing companies and firms say we need to make an audit. I think that's good. And I think also that is a good point right here to show the clients how to ensure the SAP compliance if it comes to authorization and identity management. And as I just told you, it is for us also very interesting to find out what is the focus, what is the real need for the companies outside to maybe ensure recertification processes to make sure that, for example, old roles, not used roles, unused roles and users need to be removed from the SAP system. And we have some within setQ a very good solution. setQ is implemented in the SAP landscape, so we are an SAP add-on, and none of these information is needed to extract out of the SAP. So it's everything right into your landscape and very easy to implement. And now we are using several functions and let's say, standard functionalities from SAP to provide things like the recertification process. For example, the SAP workflow is one part of it, and we can not only decide in a central cockpit which users are still valid or not, we also can perform some action. For example, the user is not valid anymore and not maybe in this department, so actually we can remove him. So there is the chance of lower down the risk and violations and to lower down maybe some license costs because we don't have that much expensive users running out there having all these authorization which is not needed. So basically, if we are talking about compliance, this is also one part. And the other part is maybe documentation. If I ask, for example, in my presentations, how do you struggle with the documentation in your company, then typically I get answers by documenting by big Excels or let's say Word files and PDF and maybe some emails. But all the time, people are a little bit annoyed by the whole documentation process. But it's really needed for the compliance to ensure that everything is quite clear and transparent to auditing companies, to the internal revision, to see what is the actual authorization concept. So, for example, if we are talking about the naming convention or the most critical users, my organizational structure and all these things, those parts could be very easy from our side be extracted out of the system directly in some kind of, let's say, prosa text. And so let's say 70-80% of this text can be delivered from us by a template, and then it can be customized and automatically updated with each request. And so the documentation doesn't need that high effort anymore. So very interesting, and also a small compliance issue because, just the impact or the implementation of the concept manager is about 2 or 3 days, but the impact for the daily business is huge. But let's get into the compliance manager. And the compliance manager, we have, let's say, 3 main topics, main issues here. The one part, just as Rogan mentioned, there is the need for a central user administration, the central role administration. These are 2 big topics, but the third big thing is the compliance manager. And therefore, we have several options to use this manager and ensure compliance at the client side. For example, not only about on offline audit to see whether, for example, every 6 months periodically that we do an audit and check, is there any violation on my roles and users? We can even furthermore, and this is what we recommend and highly recommend to implement, is an online audit to see whether you do a change on a role or a user. We can easily find out and identify what is the result and what is the impact of those changes on my authorization concept. So in SAP, everything is quite complex. You have over 150,000 transactions in the system, 7,000 objects, and I have not met this one SAP administrator who has quite the best overview about all the transactions and objects. And not only if it comes to maintaining the content of a role, we are talking about what is the violation, what is the change behind my role template, which I just changed. And because at the end I have workplaces, I have users, I have role assignments, and this is hard to evaluate and not possible, in particularly if you want to find out is there any critical change. And therefore, we have our online audit to check within the setQ system, is there a critical change? Is there a combination? Is there approval process needed to just generate those changes on my role concept? And all these things, all the documentation, all the approval process is going to, let's say, almost in an automated way. So at the end, you have not only this, let's say, reactive audit concept, you have a preventive audit concept. You can prevent making bad changes on your authorization concept by the compliance manager. This is one part. But the same thing is on the user side. So not only changing roles and workplaces, the same thing is if you look at your end user or department, then of course they always want just, I need to do my work, so please give me the role and then everything is fine. It's not easy like that. And at some point, you can maybe adjust this workflow to direct to the end user or to the department, to the key user, to the leader, and say, please keep in mind, if you do request those roles, maybe at the end you will have a violation regarding to your rule set. And maybe it is okay and it is needed because you can't ensure and solve all the conflicts outside. So basically, it is going to be somehow mitigated and say, it is okay, I know from this risk, and I will check it twice a year, for example. This is okay. This is what the internal revision is going to see, and they are fine with this. But at the end, you will receive a role assignment, which is pretty coordinated through a single instance through setQ, and you don't need a ticket and email and ask questions and so on. So everything, all the information needed for the approval is handled by CVIS. And the, of course, third big thing of the compliance manager is the reporting. So actually, as an auditor, you want to know where are my conflicts, where I need to look at, what is the let's do an analysis on the SAP module FI in Karlsruhe in Germany, and let's see why we do have many violations there. And there are furthermore things I would like to maybe just show you, but tell you anyhow. For example, simulation. So you could, for example, change a role, a template, and not directly generate it on the system, but you could simulate those changes in the audit and say, what will happen if I insert this transaction with this object and those fields and with the values. And at the end, you will get a simulation. So nothing has been really changed on the system, but you receive immediately the results and see an impact and say, oh, maybe I choose another transaction and another object. And this is quite helpful for administrator in the daily business, of course. And the second thing is for the compliance manager, and this is if it comes to an implementation of a compliance project, that the customer always have the option to use, of course, our compliance rule set, which we developed over the last 20 years. But they are free to use their own rule set as well. For example, of course, our rule set is customizable. You can just add those requirements you are facing with every day. So it is actually some kind of a template, but feel free if you have a, let's say, good paid auditing rule set from your auditing company, then you can import those rules into the setQ, and then at the end use this set of rules for your online or offline audit. So, but basically we have about 750 rules in setQ in the compliance reference manager, and those can be a good accelerator for a project to start with. Okay, so
we just have a quick question there. Maybe I can interrupt you. We have a question from one of our attendees. Is that the question is, how was your rule set developed?
So the rule set is developed by several things. Of course, we have many discussions with the auditing companies, with the, let's say, big five in many projects. So there is one part experience from the auditing companies. We have many, let's say, input also getting back feedback from the customers, from the customer projects, which we just set it up to and updated our reference model. This is an ongoing process twice a year. And the third big thing, there are many things like this in Germany, the DSAG. There are some auditing guidelines. So these are proven guidelines out of the SAP, let's say, which helps us redefining the rule set. So this is basically a mixture of sources. Hopes this answered the questions.
Okay, thank you, Philip.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, let's proceed. I would like to share some live demonstration with you. Do you see my SAP screen? Yes, I think this works so far. And yeah, this is just, if you start with the compliance manager, you can easily get into, you see this is all SAP, it's an SAP add-on integrated in your landscape, no separate hardware needed, no separate landscape, very easy to implement in your existing, for example, solution manager if you have one. Yeah, then you can start with the compliance. And then you, for example, have the compliance full audit, but maybe you have an online audit, which helps you just to identify a few rule sets and a few things like, for example, if you just click on who's able to do the cash application, maintaining bank master data, then in that case, it is from the risk level very high. And we always have the view not only on the users, of course, this is an interesting part, but also on the composite role. And if you see on the left side here, on the left hand, you have the mitigation status, and someone said that Ms. Anke Peller, in that case, that's okay that she can maintain the bank master data. This is some actual SOD, some segregation of duties. We also have critical activities as well, but just an example. And now, if it comes to the mitigation, we could start not only the documentation of the mitigation at all, we could even furthermore provide a mitigation process, meaning that we control what is now or what have been done with this critical or extended authorization, and is there some kind of bad habits, bad changes happening on the system because someone is using this for his own purpose. So basically, the mitigation manager now provides workflow, also SAP workflow supported, and the compliance manager will activate this conflict, and now the mitigation manager is in charge of reviewing those extended rights in a periodical way to, for example, just give them a small hint to the department leader and say, now please double check the changes, what have been done with the mitigation manager. So basically, this also can be done in a manual or automated way, and is, let's say, all the things around process control. So meaning we are not able only to document the mitigation at all, so we are able to manage the process as well. Okay, and then at the end, it is very important for us to provide all kinds of, let's say, all kinds of audit reports. So basically, therefore, we do have the possibility to get in our web manager. And the web manager, I will show this to you directly live out of the system. For example, in that case, I see there is a compliance status. It will take a moment until it is completed. And the compliance status gives me now, it's a logarithmic information that 2.24% of my users are violating the rules. So meaning that is quite a lot. And this is why it is maybe a small amount of percentage, but is like a green to yellow compliance status. And if I now click into this compliance status, I can make my drill down through my data. For example, I'm now interested to see what kind of SAP module have the most violations, and then get into, for example, the organizational view. For example, I want to see who is violating the FI rule set in Basel, Switzerland, and only I want to see, let's say, accepted conflicts and so on. And at the end, with my filters, I can export an Excel file, which provides me now the information which I requested. And therefore, I see this is my rule set with the package number for Basel, Switzerland, for the SAP module FI, and this is the authorization collection, meaning the users which violating those rules. And now, of course, it is Excel, and we can do further analysis, and we provide some templates regarding pivot tables and to ensure, let's say, a better overview for my auditing process. But there are many more things like the audit report as well. Many of our customers use this to just generate such reports in PDF, send it to the department, for example, who's able to maintain posting periods. Then I can see so many users, so many profiles, and so on, and roles. And at the end, you will receive a list with users and their mitigation status. So it's up to you. It's free for everyone to choose which way is the best for him and suits you best, and, for example, fulfill the requirements from the internal or external revision. So these are the biggest part. So we are not talking about how to set up the tool or how to do the adjustments in our settings. So it is about the process and the organizational structure within the company. And this is what mainly our discussions we do have with the customers. And so I could tell you 1-2 hours more about the compliance manager, but I think for the overview, that's it. Rogan, did I miss something?
No, Philip, I think you covered that well. And I think what we need to look at is the next section and how this relates to, again, companies working with remote-based staff, third parties, etc., and the changes that have happened from an application space around cloud, etc.
Okay, that's good. Okay, let's proceed. If we are talking about the current situation, I'm a little bit tired about saying Corona, but if we let's talk about mobile working. Okay, that's a little bit more fancy. But if you're talking about home office, about mobile work, everything is going to accelerate. Everything is going to be faster and wider, and everything needs to be more dynamic. But if it comes to the point that we want to centralize all the administration of users and assignments and roles and ensure compliance, it is quite tough to be compliant with all these development outside and the requests of our workplaces and employees sitting at home and working and requesting new roles. And once the administrator probably even doesn't know the new person who is onboarding in the company, it is quite hard to ensure if there is a real need for a new authorization or not. So basically, if we are talking about requesting new roles or having an authorization issue, so I have less authorization and I need more authorization because I get some conflicts and error in SAP that this or that transaction is not able to do so, then we are talking about a very, very expensive process in the most of our customers. Because mostly we have some good helping friends like the report SU53. So basically this is a report which helps you to provide information regarding the missing authorization in somehow, but then there starts a expensive process, because then the customer create a ticket. The ticket is going to the SAP IT, then the IT ask the department leader back, is that really okay? And maybe you have further changes on the system. At the end, you will wait as an end user 2, 3, 4 days for your new authorization, and you created many, let's say, questions in email, by phone, personal, and so on. And we was trying to settle everything down to not having this cross-media administration regarding that topic. We was trying to focus on all the information we already have in place. Because if you think of a centralized management, and we do have a centralized management, and we know everything about the user management, because we have the identity manager in place, and they save all the information about the users. And, for example, also the roles which are assigned to the user. And the second thing is that we have the information about what is going on in SAP. This is provided by the ST01, the trace of SAP, which, let's say, write down a bunch of information, and we all actually need only a few percentage of it. We only need what is really requested by a user, which transaction has been performed, and was it good or was it not good? And maybe the objects in the fields are also very interesting for us. But once we have those information, the extension manager here helps us really, really good in providing several things. One part is to go live with a new authorization concept in a very smooth way, because we see by the trace data which transaction or which authorization is still missing, and we don't need to ask the department. So we can easily make a go live without the department, which is very, very interesting for most of our customers, because they are quite frightened to start with a new authorization project and then at the end, or implementation of a new SAP. And the second thing is that the extension manager helps us exactly managing this authorization problem, which I described before, but in a very smooth way, because you, as an end user, can easily create your own request just at that moment in that place where you are in SAP, and make some, for example, also automatic suggestions to the, for example, department of the department leader, because we know everything. We know the roles, we know the role assignments to the users, we know what the problem is, so we can easily suggest which other roles solve the problem. And at the end, you will have not that media break right here to have several tickets, emails, and so on. And I would like to show this to you directly on the system. So, for example, I'm now an end user and I don't have many transactions at all or authorizations. So if I now start the transaction VA3, I get the error code for no authorization, or VA2 or VA1. I'm not sure. Everything is not possible with that user. And now if it comes to so now I'm an angry end user and I say, please help me with that issue. I need to have a lookup in the customer things. So basically, I now can create a request. For example, here the VA01 is my problem for just a minute ago. This was the last failure. And now if I create this request and say, please help me with this issue because I want to look up or need to create new customer orders. And then the for example, key user could be also an administrator. So you're free to configure this workflow, receives an email, and now he gets the request and the task to take care of this issue. So now he sees, Mr. Dirk Dippel, he requested with the trace data VA02 or VA01, and I can easily have a lookup and see what he also made or created for a comment. So I can now do two things there. So there is the chance of assigning this task to, let's say, a specific user to say, yeah, this request makes sense, and I would like to have this problem solved. or maybe the user said, no, I will talk to him. It doesn't make sense what he's requesting. He don't actually need to do this because it's not that everybody can wish everything he wants. So, but basically, the more interesting thing is that I now can click on this job finder, let's say role finder, and now the system provides me information about possible roles which cover the problem of the user. So basically, in that case, the system asked me to assign this user the customer service manager for the office in Freiburg, in Eschbach. And I could say, that is a good role. Thank you for the suggestion, but I will choose another one because this one is not in Freiburg, he's in Switzerland or Basel or something like this. And at the end, I will see the total coverage if all of the problem is solved, and I can make some further information to see which roles, which transactions are solved with the current job. So very good thing to see. It is some kind of employee self-service which we provide right here. And it is much more comfortable if you think of your own manual processes. So basically, I think it is good for now to see how we can ensure and accelerate such things like the help desk process. And happy to hear your requests and questions for that use case. But we have a third, smaller one, but I think at least very interesting. Okay, Rogan, I think we have the last and short poll regarding the cloud topic, and I think this is some very interesting thing. Could you please start the poll right here?
Yes, with pleasure. So there we go. The poll is started.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically, I think cloud is one of the buzzwords and how to manage authorization and users in cloud, which I think most of the customers are into it right now. And the question is there already some cloud service implemented, or is there, let's say, just only planned? But it seems that most of the users and most of the clients are already cloud-based. And we are not only talking about SAP Cloud, so we are talking also about several other cloud systems, because users and roles and assignments is not an invention of SAP.
Yeah, see, it's interesting to note, Philip, that you can see that what we're seeing is there's a greater trend that at least more than one cloud-based solution has already been rolled out or implemented in many of the companies.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So far, so good. I think we can.
It just went to change slightly. Interesting to see a change in that little dip in the context of
already
what the planning is happening.
Very interesting. I think we can share the results and to see what has been voted.
Sure, there the results are.
And already 30% is not going to plan them for 2020. I don't know the exact reason, but most of the customers or clients, they have something in place, and not only one cloud solution, of course, because normally it is a trending topic and it is an IT strategy to implement cloud-based solutions. So at all. And now I probably thank you. I probably need to ask further questions, of course. For example, like okay, and how do you manage the identities there? But let's start things first. And we had the same issue a few months ago, because when we had development and let's say rapid development of SAP regarding cloud solutions, then we saw that with each month they invented or created a new cloud service, a cloud product, and cloud manager in SAP. And for us, it's quite clear, because we are not talking about anymore of typical SAP ABAP roles and users. We need to do something. And this is what brings us to our cloud connector, which is down below here. And as you can see, it is one part of our connector solution. So we have several connectors to attach several systems, not only SAP, of course, BI and HR is SAP, but the Active Directory from SAP is from Microsoft is not. But the cloud connector behind the idea was not only to solve the problem regarding SAP cloud systems. We wanted to generate a solution where the client is able to set up his own cloud connections to SAP as well as third-party systems, and not by doing it in a very manual programming-based service. So to do it in a gentle way, in a very easy way. And this was our goal. This was our main task. And if once we made our analyze on the market and to see which informations are provided by the vendors, then we found out that many of those cloud services has been very good described. So basically, if you look at the business user from SAP, you have the creator, for example, and the update and delete it, very good described by SAP. And see down there, you have all fields and all, for example, availability period and what SAP expected to manage and maintain if you come from an outside system. And at the end, you will actually get the warning here. So this service directly influences the data and authorization of business users. Changes are immediately affected in the target system. This is actually what we really wanted to do. So the idea was that the Cloud Connector provides us some kind of web service against all those cloud or web-based platforms and uses methods like get this user, post this change, delete those assignments to maintain those target systems. And basically that's it. This is actually outside from SAP typical ABAP. So we are talking about a JavaScript-based system in a Docker container, which is very easy to handle and has a direct connection to our identity manager. So basically, if we go directly to this,
Philip,
yes.
We have a question from one of the people in the audience. Is there a Fiori app for this process? And I trust that I've asked it in the right way related to the process for cloud-based solutions. So I trust that I've got the question in the right context. If not, please let me know.
So it is, if I get the question right, it is another thing, because once, if we're talking about of Fiori configuration and administration, we are talking about SAP menus, and we are talking about services, and we are talking about how to set up and what catalogs and Fiori is needed to implement in my roles to ensure the right Fiori tiles and provided to the end users. So this is a thing for our role manager. So yes, we can help you with that case, but this is not only about the Fiori tiles. It looks similar, and this basically is a typical, with the tiles, a typical corporate design, I guess. So basically,
so let me clarify the question there. It was just re-put in. So Fiori apps for the authorization error and request process.
So in the request process is settled in our role manager. So this is the right place to be if we're talking about Fiori. Okay. So in Cloud Connector, we just only talk about the connection between my several third-party web-based solutions and how to manage the user assignments and roles there. So this is about the centralization of the user management and gives me the opportunity to manage not only ABAP systems, even furthermore to manage the SAP systems. I'm not sure if I get the question right, because maybe we have some other chance here to manage Fiori landscape in the front-end server, for example. But this one, maybe the capabilities we don't know yet. But we just started with this one here, and we get in a weekly period requests from customers who want to provide their SAP cloud systems to see, can you please manage our SAP Ariba or other systems? And this helps us finding out the right methods, finding out the right connections. So I would like to look forward with you together to receive your requests regarding those third-party systems and see what else and the capabilities we can do there. And maybe we have some options with the Fiori, but I think this question belongs to the management of authorization menus, services, Fiori catalogs, and this is our role manager, which provides me features, but we don't have, unfortunately, not enough time to talk about this in that session. But we can do it in a one-by-one session, of course. Okay, so basically, and I'm not sure if this is a thing you would like to see in detail in live, but I would like to show it to you in an expert session with you together, in direct session. And if I look on the time right now, we are a little bit in an overdue, but let's say let's open the question and answer session, because I think I'm so far completed with my stuff I wanted to show you and to share the information. And maybe there are other questions, and I would like to answer them, of course, if I am able to.
Okay, and thank you again, Philip. Thank you for that information that you shared with us today. If there are questions or any burning pieces of information that you're looking for specifically regarding how you would manage certain things in the context of your organization, from a remote perspective, or where you see that there are failures in processes, and you want to ask a question, now is the time. Pop it in the question box and we can answer it online. And if it needs more detail, as Philip said earlier, we can have a one-on-one session with you specifically to understand the specific pain point that you're at in terms of the security process that you're trying to manage.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't see any questions coming through there at the moment, Philip. So let's see. Let's give it a little bit of chance for people to put their questions in, and we can give them some time for that.
Okay, that's good. I think there are many questions regarding this topic because it's a big thing to talk about all these side topics. You know, we didn't talk about emergency access. We didn't talk about reducing roles and authorization in an automated way. There are so many things to see. But yeah, I think it is some good trending topics today, and we would be happy to have some requests after the session from you.
Okay, we had a question here in terms of how is the product priced? Do you pay for each module on the screen now? I think, Ian, we can definitely take this up with you specifically, and I think it would be good to have a discussion, but in essence, yes. From a pricing perspective, it is a modular-based pricing, and we can slice and dice them as per the requirements that you have.
Exactly. I think this is one of our big features of the licensing concept, that you can pick up from those modules the right things you are currently into it. So you can choose if you have facing the problem ensuring compliance, you can just choose the compliance and compliance reference manager. But you could have also some synergy effects by using compliance manager and identity manager as well. So it's up to you. And of course, we can help you finding out the right modules.
Okay, we've got another question that came through here, Philip. The question is, I have a query about identity manager and HR connector. For example, one person hired from HR department. Is there an automatic process to create user and assign roles on the system?
Yeah, actually, that is one of my favorite use cases. So basically, exactly what the client was described. So I can show you a quick view on the HR connector. So this one reacts on changes like onboarding, offboarding, changing the department of employees in HR. So we react on measures from SAP starting and for example, let's say have some automated process like changing the data in the SAP system, changing roles in Active Directory system, creating all the necessary user roles for onboarding process in SAP ERP. There are many things to do here, but we can do this in an automated way. And this is which is very, very helpful for most of their customers because it is a living object. It is a thing that there's so many changes on our authorization concept every day, and we helping do this in an automated way. So basically, exactly that question is handled by our HR connector combined with the identity manager.
I trust that that answers your question. Are there any more questions? If not, we can wrap up the session for today. And we want to thank you then for your attendance, and we look forward to having you on our next webinar. Okay, let's just carry on here. We've got another one. If you were to compare setQ to GRC, what are the benefits of one over the other?
Yeah, that is the killer question, and it comes to the end. I think for me, as a vendor, as a manufacturer of the software and setQ, we are always concentrating and focus on our own software. So, of course, many of our customers, they ask us, what is the difference between GRC and SAP and setQ from VOQUZ? But the thing is that, of course, I don't want to say any bad word about SAP GRC. Actually, it has some really good and extended features which maybe we don't have, but it doesn't matter. We have this small solution which is so flexible, so dynamic, and for example, we can answer that fast with our 50 people your requests. If you compare this to a big SAP, even if you are a BMW car manufacturer from SAP and say, I want to have this function in SAP GRC or that function, SAP probably will take about 1 or 1.5 years to provide such wishes. And therefore, our dynamic and our possibilities with our development team is amazing. And we have a good performance in implementing our solution. For example, just the installation of our product in setQ is just only about 1 day, no matter what manager you pick up. And the second thing is that the whole implementation process doesn't take that long as if you compare it to from the experience from my customers, which they told me GRC implementation. So once if it comes to function comparison, I'm not sure which one is the better product, but you need to decide which fits better to your requirements. And therefore, I think we have a very high modular, very flexible, and very fast solution to get to the goal and provide you the right service at the right time.
I think that's really well put. I think, Philip, it's really about agility in a time where we can implement this also from as much of a remote basis as possible, given the constraints that are currently taking place worldwide. So I think that's another added feature in terms of remote working. A lot of this context can be done remotely. We don't need to have teams on site. The modular structure allows you to slice and dice, as we said earlier, specifically taking only that which you need at that specific time. I think that's important. You don't need to buy the whole package in one big go. You can build it on a staged basis based on your pain points. And as we said earlier, I think it's really about finding a synergy between the way in which the solution and the advisory works to meet the strategic business objectives that you have from an organization perspective. I think that's key. If you understand what your business requirements are and how you measured on those business requirements strategically, then you can put in the different pieces of the puzzle into your organization as and when it's required.
Okay, I think these are good.
I think
sentences.
we are done with the presentation. I think if there are any other questions, again, we welcome questions. We really look forward to helping organizations come out of it with the best SAP authorization concept, as I said earlier, that's lean, that meets the requirements that you have. And if you'd like to reach out to us with any other questions or concerns after this, please do so. Our contact details are available. You can look at that on our websites, etc. and we look forward to hearing from you there. There is a survey that will be sent out after the session as well, just to get some understanding of where you are in terms of priorities of different managed services, and I trust that you'll fill that out for us and give us some feedback in this context. But from our side, from Philip and from myself, thank you very much for attending. We look forward to you on the next session in terms of our webinar series around SAP compliance and license management.
Okay, thank you also from my side for your interest and your time. So have a good day and stay healthy.
Yes, thank you very much. And
Okay.
till next time, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.